Thanks for stopping by Badass Records Podcast. Follow on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube and where you stream. It's the Badass Records Podcast. New episodes Thursdays. Talking people, music, and badass records.
Your name, I mean, it's unique to begin with, but it has felt familiar since I first came across it. And my son, so by the back door, there's just a regular old month calendar with picture. My sister has it made for Christmas, and it's pictures of the kids and blah, blah. And then there's a huge one that has all of our shit that's going on. And I'll write guest names, and sometimes I'll pencil in the day that their episode will come out, just so that it's on the brain a lot. Yeah. And so my son will, they eat breakfast right there, and sometimes he'll just he's a little slow to get going in the morning, and sometimes he'll just see somebody's name and be like, Till Willis, and I'm like, it's just and then the other day he's like, Peregrine Honig, and I was like,
Peregrine.
I don't, these are their names. Yeah. So it just so happened he needed to look something up on my phone, so he has my phone and he's across the table from me, and it was the first time that you emailed me. That message came in, and he goes, Fritz Hutchison just messaged you. I was like, oh, cool. And then whenever that was, a handful of weeks ago, every once in a while, he's like, have you met Fritz Hutchison? Like, Fritz. No, dude. Yeah. Anyway, that's funny. Yeah. He's a goofball.
Yes. Well, my name is a challenge and a delight to many.
I mean, it conjures, even though it's unique, it's like you get the train.
Fritz's Railroad Restaurant.
Yeah, and then lots and lots of people from Hutchison, Kansas. They almost exclusively refer to it as Hutch. We're from Hutch, blah, blah, blah. So it's like this interesting combo.
Yeah. Oh, man. I went to Fritz's every birthday for a while.
Did you really?
Oh, my God. I owned the place. Just
nice. Awesome.
Where's my train? Bring me my conductor hat.
So St. Peter's K through 8 for you?
Oh, yeah.
And then where for high school?
Briefly Rockhurst.
Okay.
And then Paseo.
Really?
Yeah.
Why the switch?
Oh, my God. Why not? Just any reason.
Okay.
It was kind of like, you can't fire me, I quit.
Okay. Gotcha.
Gotcha. It just didn't. It was not a bad fit, tell me how to grow my hair.
Yeah.
And also I was just kind of fucking off in class, just not performing well academically.
Sure.
And got a few warnings, and then, Paseo's the art school, and it was clear that all I really cared about was playing drums. So
drums.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what I started out doing.
Okay.
And so all of my studying of music is through the lens of drumming.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So it was, it was a good time at Paseo?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever known anybody that went there.
Oh, it was kind of wild. There's a lot of musicians, great players that came out of there. There's a guy named Ryan Lee who's just one of the best musicians I've ever known. But he graduated right before I got there, so nothing. I was haunted by the ghost of Ryan. Nothing I could do was ever good enough, because he was he's incredible, nice. And just imagine. I don't know. Logan Richardson, the saxophone player, he went there. These guys are all older than me.
What are the crossroads?
47th and Paseo.
Okay.
When you're driving down Paseo, right by where that Gates is.
Okay.
Where Cleaver and
yes. Yeah.
Brush Creek Boulevard are right there. There's a big staircase, and there's stone letters that say Paseo that come down it. And those stairs go up to the school building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's around the corner. There's a million things pulling her in the direction of St. Teresa's, and I hope I know she's going to shadow Miege. I hope she will consider them equally as opposed to just doing what's pulling her. And then my boy is not too far beyond, and it's like, is he going to look at Miege? Is he maybe going to look at Barstow, or is it just going to be Rockhurst?
The Rock. Rock State.
Yeah.
Oh.
My dad went to Rockhurst high school and college.
Okay.
And just really wanted nothing more than for me to go there. In fact, he had me come stay at his place the night before the entrance exam, and it's like the only time I remember him like single-handedly putting together a hot breakfast for me. And I'm a terrible test taker, but I somehow did well.
Is that breakfast?
It must have, and I was like, I'm still not gonna. I love you, but I'm not gonna go to Rockhurst. And he was like, yeah.
My dad used to like kind of threaten me with Paseo.
Oh shit!
Like if you don't get your act together, you're gonna end up at Paseo. And it's like exactly what happened, but it ended up being great. I mean, I loved it. Just because I don't know that school. The school is. It was a bizarre time to go there because of what was happening in the district at the time. Like, I don't know if you were paying attention. Losing accreditation, I think, was going on, and there was like a mass like consolidation. They sold a bunch of the school buildings. They sold the Westport High building, and like several schools closed, and they consolidated the student bodies. So like,
oh wow, yeah.
Between my junior and senior year, there was like an uptick of like 200 kids or something, something crazy, like, right. And the way that Paseo it was set up as like it's like the magnet arts school, and so like you're supposed to audition. They have like majors at that school, so I was like an instrumental music major. You can be like a theater major or a choral music, dance. Theater tech was even one, visual arts and creative writing. I think those were all of them. But you had to like pick a major, and then your block scheduling revolved around that, which was really cool because like at Rockhurst you got like one elective, or maybe two. I put don't like grill me on my high school schedule, but like I just remember at Rockhurst it was like, okay, you get to do band, and like that's it. But at Paseo I was doing jazz band and concert band and a theater class.
Cool.
And a theater tech class sometimes, like, just depending on the semester or whatever. But it was like really heavy on the creative classes scheduling, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then like the academic classes were like kind of a joke. Like, it just like was not well run, and the student energy was crazy. And you could tell that like so many of the teachers were burned out and like not just kind of like letting kids have the run of the place, just because it was like, what's the point of even like trying to be a disciplinarian, because like it's out of control. And like, so there were some kids that would just like go to school every day, would just like never go to, like, just wander the halls all day and go to their choir class but nothing else. It was just like kind of anarchy. Which was really fun for me because I was like, I could go to math class or I could go to Chipotle. Like, what is like? So like, some buds of mine, kind of up to no good every now and then, but
then
it was fun.
Was there more school after that for you?
No,
that was it.
That was it. I just started working and playing.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man. Got beverages, we got equipment doing what it's supposed to do. You found the restroom. If either of us need to dip out for anything, we'll just let it roll and cut it out afterwards.
Okay.
So let's see here. We'd be looking at episode 103 of Badass Records podcast. Hanging with Fritz Hutchison. Thank you for making the snow day trek over here to hang in the basement. I appreciate you being here.
No problem, Blair.
Now, I I found Fritz Hutchison music on Facebook. I was not successful with the website. It seemed like something was happening there.
Oh, I didn't maintain it and didn't pay for it anymore. That's what happened.
Before I forget, undergrad in psych, and then was doing I had a radio show and was doing arts and entertainment editor for the newspaper. I was fluent in Spanish, and which one of these am I going to minor in? Well, I ended up minoring in lit just because I had the skills of the other things, and was really enjoying school for the first time in a long time as it was wrapping up. And it's like, I think I'm going to go to grad school, but what am I going to go to grad school for? 7 years later, I'm at starting the creative writing program at UMKC, which is how I know Michelle. And my first semester, entering the program, I applied for a TA, and it would I can't remember if it would cover your tuition and pay a little something, but there was something significant in it, and also, of course, good experience. And I didn't get chosen, and Michelle was the contact person, and I sent her a message inquiring, what happened, and it was not very eloquently worded. I wasn't mean, but I just was not. I didn't know how to.
You weren't flexing your lit muscles.
No. I just didn't. I hadn't learned yet how to be thoroughly respectful, but also communicate your message.
Yeah, and it's a skill. That takes practice.
And she lit me on fire.
Oh no!
With her email, I was like, "Holy shit!" So from then on, when I saw her, I was like, "Oh." She was a stern, loving, fun, but stern individual.
Yeah.
And obviously passionate with her own writing and art and so forth. But just. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube.
No.
Intro relationship communication, and she's just like, look at this turd that we just let into our program.
Well, there's something endearing about those kind of relationships that are terrifying at a certain moment in your life, but they can be remarkably effective in changing a person for the better, and then you end up appreciating it and maybe finding it funny or something like that.
Yeah.
But
good lady though. Her husband, good dude too.
Yeah.
And I know I was over there for at least one function, so I totally related on the familiar feeling when you walked in. But so the point of that is late in my undergrad, I came across Mark Farina as a DJ.
Okay.
And just Mushroom Jazz is the name of the record, and he went on to put out 7, 8, 9 installments, and it's all one long, 17 tracks, but they all run together, and it's just super, super fun.
Cool.
And I actually went and saw him at the Beaumont Club 20 plus years ago. And it was wild because he had only CDs, but he was still behind all the stuff doing all the, DJ stuff. And I was like, what are you doing? No, anyway. But there was one track in that Mushroom Jazz series where there's a backing vocal that this gal is saying music, 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 music.
Oh, so you were thinking of the Facebook page? Yeah. Oh my God.
So you got stuff on Facebook. You got a Bandcamp.
Yes.
And then
the old Instagram. Yeah.
Frite_orca. Is that the?
Yeah, I almost picked this record to talk about, but there's a Dirty Projectors album called Bitta Orca.
Okay.
So it's like a little nod to
nice,
that.
Very nice.
Because I'm really good at branding.
Hey, you know what? Your Bandcamp page is handsome, and there's 8 releases on there, all with very fascinating cover art.
Yeah.
And I don't know how this happened, but I landed on Anytime Movie Night Demos. The page for that. And so it set this mindset that this is the only thing on here. And so I so I listened to all of it, and then I read your very clean, admirable liner note copy beneath it. Somebody, Chiefs Party folks, and
the Donaldsons,
and then Allison Hawkins.
Yeah.
I think I might be swapping messages with her right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, clean copy, and writing is sort of my bread and butter. So when I see that somebody cares,
you're welcome.
But so then I was like, oh shit, there's more. Oh well. And I think it was reading that, all of these except for the lead track made it onto the album, and the lead track was wonderful. I absolutely loved. I've been trying to put a finger on it. There's something about the tone and the vibe and the energy, and I mean the music itself is great too. But just really good stuff.
Thanks.
And I've never sat across from somebody who has stuff on Bandcamp where I go, ugh, that's awful. But a lot of times it's like, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I just really thought that I didn't listen to anything else, but I thought that record was really great.
Cool.
And so,
yeah, well, you basically listened to the album Movie Night,
okay,
because it's all the demos for that, except for that song,
right?
So you would just hear professional production versions of the rest of those songs.
Sounded pretty profesh to me.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah,
yeah. I did all that on a just like a Tascam 8-track.
Okay.
So all those demos were made on that, and then took them to Element Studios and worked on them with Joel and put real horn players and real string players and it's tricky because some of those demos I listened to and I'm like, oh, this captures something that got lost in translation to the quote unquote real version, but that's very common. It's people call it demo-itis because it happens all the time. People make the demo and it's got the real emotion of a moment in it or whatever. But that's why it's cool to put those out too, because you can just appreciate them for what they are and for the moment they capture.
So for each of the 8 releases that are up there, has the recording and production and release process looked similar across them, or has everything sort of been its own little journey? Or
there's a couple camps of production, I would say. There's 3. Okay, so there are 2 full-length albums that I made with Joel at Element.
Okay.
There's Wide Wild Acres, and then there's Movie Night.
Okay.
And, pretty much made those 2 records the same way, which is go into the studio with Joel and track the rhythm section myself, just, layering up that stuff. Start with the drums, build the guitars up, play pretty much all the guitars. And my friend Ian Teeple played bass on Wide Wild Acres.
Okay.
On almost the entire record. I played bass on a couple of songs, but Ian's great.
Nice.
Amazing genius musician. Basically, the way I like to make albums is I like to do everything that I can do until I can't,
Yeah.
and then horns, strings, keys. If there's a specialty moment, I played keys, but they're Kyle Little can just do things that I cannot do.
Sure.
So bring him in for stuff, and
the horns on that 8th track were a very pleasant surprise. I was like, oh shit, look at this.
Was that the da da da?
Yeah.
Da, da? Oh yeah, that was me playing the trumpet poorly, but doing my best.
Okay.
On the demos,
it sounded it brought a big band feel to that track for a second, which
those are the 4 notes I can play, so worked out.
Nice.
But yeah, those 2 records were made very similarly in the studio, and then some of the releases on Bandcamp, the number is that there are 8 releases, but 2 or 3 of those are singles that came out before those records.
Like,
so it's like some of the same.
Apologize to your wife or something
Yes,
like
that one. And Ladder Shake is
Yes.
another. There's a single called Zack Attack that I recorded with Ross Brown.
Okay.
In his basement a long time ago. That was a really fun day. And then the rest of them I recorded myself at home.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, just
No worries.
gotta find the right mix of temperature here in a
Yeah.
little 12 by 12. So art, the album art cover for each of those. I felt like there was some similarity, like maybe you used the same artist on more than one.
Yeah, most of that stuff is art by Emmett Merrill, who was a Paseo classmate of mine. And we became real tight buds back in high school, and he's just really amazing lithograph, printmaker, artist guy.
Yeah.
He's got a shop in St. Louis called Graphic House.
Okay.
And he works with some folks out there, and he's amazing, and we just connect on so much stuff. It's really easy to communicate,
Sure.
like themes and ideas with him, and I just am a fan of his art anyway, so like pretty much anything he brings to me, I'm like, that's great, let's use that.
Perfect.
So he did the movie night album cover, he did those singles covers, he did the one of me with the snow shovel.
Okay.
The like holiday single that's on there. And then the cover for the demos record that you listened to is an excerpt from art that he did for the movie night CD package. So it's like when you open up the CD package and like remove the CD, it's the image behind the CD in the case.
Cool.
So I just made that the cover for like the demo version.
Well,
and Colin Roush from Shy Boys did the cover art for Zack Attack.
okay. Okay. Well, I just
And sorry,
Please.
Connor Burke did the paintings for Wide Wild Acres, and Sally, my friend Sally, took the photo of me and the chicken. That's used. So that cover art's like a collab between the two of them.
Sure. I just, I know that Bandcamp is a platform, and to some degree you're plugging stuff in to the way that they have it set up. But I always appreciate when it's a handsome collection, all the way around with interesting artwork and noteworthy number of releases and clean copy and so on and so forth. So you should be proud of your Bandcamp page if you're not already.
I stand tall, knowing that I have that handsome Bandcamp page.
There you go. So born and raised KC.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have one sibling?
I have 6.
6.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Okay. And where are you in the pecking order?
I'm number 2.
Number 2.
I have an older sister.
Okay.
And then a brother and a sister and a sister and a brother and a brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, this is always fascinating to me because, your relationship with your older sibling has got to look wildly different than the relationship between your oldest sibling and your youngest sibling, right?
Well, yeah. There's just like age different, that's a decade. We're all pretty close actually because they just hammered us out in the 90s. Like, it's just like that's what the 90s were. It was just bam, bam, bam. But so it's like 7 kids in 10 years. It's
okay. That's a because where you go normally is like the youngest and the oldest is like kind of 1 foot out the door of the house.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So
no, we were all under one roof for a while.
Interesting.
For 8 years or so.
Cool. And where is everybody?
Well, let's see. I'm in KCK. My sister Mary Claire is in KCK. My brother Charlie is in Boston.
Oh, wow.
My sister Rose is in Chicago.
Okay.
My sister Maggie and my brother Oliver live together very close to here, actually on Dartmouth.
Okay.
And then my brother Joe lives in Leadville, Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting collection of towns.
Yeah.
And any idea how mom and dad met?
They met at a party.
Okay.
Or Harling's.
Okay.
I can't remember which the exact order.
Sure.
It's either a house party that was at like 51st and Grand, or it was at Harling's.
Okay.
Or maybe they went from the house to
Sure.
Harling's, something like that.
R.I.P. to Harling's, man. Right?
No,
That place.
the best worst place ever.
The softest. Is it gonna hold up? Floor.
Oh my God,
And the
yeah.
fire escape staircase situation.
I'm
out back.
amazed that no one met their end on those stairs.
I know.
Is the loading in and out of that place, and somehow the front stairs were scarier. You know what I mean?
Just gonna
It's
say,
like-
nobody met their end on either side because,
just insane.
like, you open that door to go up the front, and you're like, "Holy shit!" Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna find something to hold on.
I
to
know,
here.
I know. Just somehow, we all thought it was a good idea to keep going there.
Yeah.
I miss it. It was
was
so fun.
Like iconic, for
yeah.
sure.
And like booking shows there was great. Just like old school. Like,
Yep.
you'd go there and what was that guy? Brian Crilly. He would just like get a big paper calendar out and just like write your name down.
Oh, wow.
A Sharpie or something.
Wow.
That's how you booked.
I feel like no matter what time of evening I was in there, it's like you lean up on that bar to order a beer, and it's just like, this thing is always sticky, and
know.
just like Jim Gaffigan's line, you know what you never hear in a Waffle House? Hey, good job cleaning up.
Yeah. You didn't hear that there either.
No. So mom and dad put on music for everybody to listen to when you guys were young, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What-
There was music on a lot. I remember it in the car the most.
Okay.
The car was like music land.
Sure.
And there was a lot of driving around, going to school, going to practice, going wherever, So I remember Oldies 95
Heck yeah.
was a big situation in the morning,
Yep.
on the way to school, peppy. So it was like a lot of like Motown and Everly Brothers, and they were still playing a lot of 60s music in the 90s, It's interesting as time goes on what like classic rock and oldies radio stations are playing now, because you'll hear like Pearl Jam on the Fox.
I'll never forget when I heard the day that I heard Tom Petty, something off of Full Moon Fever, a 1987 record on the Fox. I was like, whoa, somebody's getting fired because this is not the
ticking,
right. And then it's like, oh,
right, because it's the same amount of time if you remember that you're young, and it's like 30 years prior.
Yeah.
It's the Mamas and the Papas. Or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
But yeah, so there was a lot of that, and then there was a lot of like, kind of like bluegrass and like Nora Jones, and like the "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" soundtrack was like a huge thing that we listened to like constantly. But there was also like a lot of show tunes.
I'm a Dapper Dan man.
Yeah. Do not seek the treasure. So good.
Such a good movie.
I know.
And I didn't watch it forever.
Yeah.
And I had, every time I met somebody, like, stop what you're doing right now and go. And then I finally did. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It was we were more of a Raising Arizona household, but the Oh Brother soundtrack was on repeat.
Very nice.
So that's our Coen brothers triangulation of
That's great.
cultural influence.
I love it.
But yeah, there was that, and then there was like my whole family got like really obsessed with Les Miserables. So
Really?
we were listening to Les Miserables a lot, like going to swim practice and like
The 9 of you.
yeah,
Wow.
or like just oh my god, can you imagine? It was all of us in the Suburban, like look down, it's just insane. But so, and like we all really liked doing theater and stuff, and like my sister Maggie is a pro actor, like musical theater actor.
Okay.
And, so to this
That who's
day,
in Chicago?
no, she's here.
She's here. Okay.
Okay. A pretty like wide variety of stuff, and then like my parents were really cool about like sort of like getting into what we were into, and then sort of like fostering that interest. And so like I started playing drums, I started getting into jazz, and my dad was like, "Oh, you got to listen to this record, you got to listen to this record." And like we would just like be listening to hard bop in the car, cuz that's what I was into. Or like even like I almost put like a Linkin Park record on this list for today.
Whoa.
Cuz that was
That
like
does
my
not fit.
first favorite band.
Okay.
I mean, we might end up just talking about it anyway,
Sure,
but
yeah.
but like, my dad's listening to Linkin Park with me,
Nice.
and like stuff like that. So there's just music on all the time.
Cool.
And I'm just trying to think what else was big.
That's great.
Amy Grant.
Sure.
Amy Grant Christmas record is big.
Yeah.
Same
Sort of in the St. Anne's for 1 year. I mean, I went to 6 different grade schools, so I was all over the place. But for whenever we were here, it was 71 WHB, which would become Oldies 95 eventually.
Okay.
And I just the other day, in one of the earliest episodes, learned. I just always thought WHB were the call letters.
Mm-hmm.
World's happiest broadcasters.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, is that because they play oldies for a living that they're just they decided to go with that name, right?
Do 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 do. A lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Too.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
So,
nice, very nice.
yeah, my mom loves the funky stuff.
So you still have a kit today, I would assume.
Oh yeah, I play drums all the time.
Okay, and how was that your jumping off point? What was it about the drums that drew you?
Well, the drums chose me, I guess, or my uncle chose the drums.
Okay.
It was a Christmas present. I knew I wanted to play music.
Okay.
And I had taken piano lessons and it didn't connect, But
How long?
Taking piano lessons?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I was really little and
Okay.
it was kind of sporadic as I remember. There was
Okay.
a couple different teachers. It was like one... For a while, we went to like the Marlboro Community Center, and I took piano lessons there from a guy. And then there was a lady that came over to our house at a different time. So
Sure.
I think there was just like a couple attempts that neither lasted super long. Like I said, it just wasn't connecting. And then when I was 12, so 20 years ago, my Uncle Jerry gave me drums for Christmas.
Did he run that by your folks first?
I'm sure he did. Yeah.
And was there a spot in the home that you could,
My bedroom. Had him in my room.
So
my brother and I shared the attic.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of space up there.
Okay.
And I, to this day, feel sorry for Charlie because, just had the kit like basically right next to his bed,
Wow.
And right over my parents' room. I was kind of insane that it was allowed to happen that way.
Right.
Eventually they moved down to the basement. Happiest day of Charlie's life. But
you say attic, and I immediately think, well, I bet it travels throughout the house less than if it were in the basement. So it's almost like if that's
maybe
true,
the house less, but the neighborhood more. You know what I mean?
being in the attic.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, kind of amazing that I don't know that
I
I only remember the cops getting called once.
Oh wow. There's on the other side of this wall is my garage, and there's an extra. It's like there's a playroom above it, and it's great except for it's not insulated. So like right now it's really cold, and in the summer it's really hot. There's a kit in there, and the next door neighbors, like the day they're like, "Do you guys get drums?" It's like, oh, you can. I bet everybody can hear that.
I know immediately. Yeah.
Right. So they moved down to the basement, but you're
Moved
still
down.
playing them.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When they go down to the basement.
Well, yeah, and what happened was I started like being more serious about being in bands and like having practices at our house and stuff, and so like having 5 dudes in my bedroom was like not as accommodating or so whatever. So we moved it down to the basement. And
okay.
That was the home for a while.
So drums is your instrument of choice from 12 till
probably till like my early 20s.
Okay.
I was playing guitar throughout that time. I was playing a lot of banjo when I was a teenager too.
Cool.
Because I got a banjo kind of at the end of high school, and so I was in this band called She's a Keeper that was kind of like a alt folk. Shorthand is kind of a Mumford band. We were sort of a Mumford band, but whatever. But I was playing a lot of banjo and drums, and then like the dudes that I was in that band with were like really next level songwriters for like kids our age. Just Zach, Colin, and Elliot were just like all just like churning out these amazing melodic and introspective and well constructed songs, and I was like, whoa, like I got to do that too. So then I started writing more, so I started taking the guitar a little more seriously. And then there was also this band called Metatone that I was a huge fan of, local band, and their guitar player was moving to New York, and I was aware that he was going to move, and I was like, I will do anything to be in this band. So I like started taking guitar really seriously, like specifically to play with that band, and like learned this guy's guitar parts and stuff. And then like the second he moved, I was like, hey, I heard you need a guitar player. Like it's like, I know all the songs already. So that was like, really,
you could have been running the risk of if you waited till he was already gone, they might have already had somebody.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
but it worked.
It worked. Yeah.
And they were like, come on in.
Yeah. So it worked out. But yeah, I was like really primarily thinking of myself as a drummer for probably, a decade.
Okay.
And then these days I still think of myself as a drummer first, probably songwriter second, guitar player third.
Interesting.
But it depends on what is going on musically.
Okay.
Like there are certain environments where I feel more or less comfortable on guitar. I kind of feel like I can function as a drummer in most situations.
Okay.
I'm a master of none, but like,
sure.
I can like survive in a jazz trio gig in the drums and play without concern. But if I was like in a jazz trio on guitar, I'd be freaking out and like I would be very limited in what I could say.
Now, my happy place in the world of jazz, and my jazz world is pretty small, right? But I love, 60s even through 80s Blue Note records, because the cover art was always so simple. It's just like the three musicians' names and maybe whoever's record it is. It's like a larger font, and then it's just a shot of somebody with their instrument, and it's this notion of, okay, we're all doing this thing, and we each take a turn venturing out, and then coming back, right? And so in that situation on the kit, you could hang and do all the things expected, but could you also freelance for a quick second while it was your turn to? Or
I mean, I guess so. It's like the whole deal is that like the drums, it depends on who you ask and how you think about it, but the drums are not necessarily like a composing instrument.
Sure.
And so like that is really why I started to pay more attention to other more melodic or harmonic instruments.
Because your writing self is...
exactly. And so like you can only take an idea so far, like sitting back on the kit and playing a beat and imagining something in your head. You gotta like bring that to the thing. So
get you another one.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right back.
What was I talking about? I was saying
neither one of us held it.
No.
Drums.
I got this. Oh, just like
paying attention to other instruments.
I mean, I have done gigs where I'm like the band leader on the drums.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's looked like a couple of things. I've done more of that in like the country music vein, actually, kind of Levon style.
Cool.
And playing mostly songs that I've written, but then like, my buddy Zach will just like play guitar. He's just a monster guitar player. So
sure.
I write the songs and I demo stuff out a lot. And so I can just like play a recording of like, this is how the song goes, people. And
you guys listening?
Yeah. And then I sit back on the kit and we play the song and we work it out,
nice.
And I'll sing or whatever. So, it's not really that. I think that people, what am I saying? it might seem a little mysterious of how someone can like be the band leader or something on a non-melodic instrument, on just the rhythmic instrument. But it's like, if you just put the time in rehearsals and work it all out, then like.
You guys ever heard of Phil Collins? Come on now.
Come on now, guys.
So as it stands right now, drums, banjo, guitar, bass, keys, and a few notes on a trumpet. You could make a record and it just is you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, but you gig too. Right?
Yeah.
And that's it's not just you, is it? Or is it?
Well, sometimes it is.
Okay,
I mean,
depends.
it depends.
Okay.
I kind of will just do anything because it's my living. So I'll do whatever.
Okay.
So like, I'll play drums in an organ trio at KC Beer Co., or I'll do a solo songwriter thing, at like West Bottoms Whiskey Company, or I'll have my like 8-piece rock band and we'll do a big show at the Ship or something like that.
Cool.
Or like, there's a bunch of. I love Kansas City musically for a lot of reasons, and like the way that I like to describe it here is that there's enough musicians for there to be any kind of music, but there's not enough musicians for every kind of music to have its own scene or its own like closed off pocket.
Sure.
So there's a lot of, you've got like your goths over here and your country people over here, but like one person in a country band is probably also going to be playing some like weirdo goth stuff, and like some gothy person's probably playing some twangy stuff. Cause like, that's just how it goes. Like it's a pretty tight knit and like very open community. And it's kind of like what you were saying with the jazz records where like, there's like a rotating, everyone gets their turn in the driver's seat, and it just kind of works like that around here.
Yeah.
Cause like everyone kind of has their own project, and then those people are almost always in 2 or 3 other projects, just helping out their buddies or whatever. I'm sure you've encountered that.
Not a ton. I mean, I've interviewed a decent amount of musicians, and it's like more often than not they sit down, and I'm like, okay, so this is your deal and this is your band, and they're like, actually, I'm in 6 other bands too, and it's like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Crazy to have, if gigging and practicing and record, if all the things are happening, obviously some are going to get a little less time and energy than others, but it never ceases to amaze me. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, the lack of industry here kind of helps with that aspect of it too, because like, I don't know, there isn't that sense. There is industry here. Like people work and make music here for a living, and like in that sense, there is, and people have pretty far reach from here, and it's not like it doesn't exist, but like that ego thing doesn't quite exist here in the same way, where it's like I'm the cult leader, you're in my cult, and we're going straight to the top. That kind of attitude.
That's a good thing, right?
Absolutely. I think so. I think absolutely. Because it just is more like, it's more about just like community and making honest music for the sake of itself.
Right.
Yes,
indeed. I don't know. At one of the places where one can find Fritz Hutchison stuff, there's a picture of you. And I want to say you're wearing like a black T-shirt, and maybe your hair is a little longer than it is right now, and you're standing, I think, in this picture, which
I believe you.
It made me, the last thing I would have thought looking at, and maybe it's your Bandcamp, was that you're a drum. No, that was the first thing I thought. Cool. No, just that you're not sitting and there's not a kit visible.
Sure.
I didn't, so I didn't make the connection.
Surprise.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the movie night demos, do I have this right? September of last year?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when was your first thing put up there?
The very first thing, March 2020.
Okay.
The first show that I had to cancel because of COVID was the release show for my first album. Wow. So it was pretty great.
Wow.
Pretty awesome.
And before that, were you recording before you had a thing visible on the internet and you would hand stuff out, or what?
Yeah, I actually, it's funny you ask that. I chipped away at that album Wide Wild Acres for like 5 years.
Okay.
I spent a really long time working very slowly on it, and I got heavily distracted a couple of times with other projects and stuff. And so I started working on that album in like 2015.
Okay.
And like, so I was still in She's a Keeper. That was a primary focus, but I had these songs that were not fitting with that band, and I was kind of getting a stockpile. So that was the idea, was just to kind of like offload these things. And then, that band ended, and I got more focused on that record, and I put a bunch of work in, and I like got it, probably over 50% done. And then I joined a band called the Grand Marquis, this very long-standing, like, kind of brass New Orleans jazz party band around town. But I played drums for them for a few years, and that's like a full-time job. So I got very distracted from the record and didn't work on it. But there was an early version of that album that was like 8 songs, and it was basically done. And that was the version that I shopped around to some labels to try to get some interest, and eventually led to it being put out, which is kind of another story. But I did play some shows, and I had just like the burned CDs that I like Sharpied Fritz Hutchison on them and passed them out. And then I lost them.
Oh no.
In Ireland. I took a bunch of them with me because I went there to play some music with some friends of mine that I made through the Irish festival here.
Oh, cool.
And I made friends with this guy named Rob, and he's got this band, really awesome punk band called the Panic Attacks.
Okay.
They're a Dublin band.
Nice.
But I went over there kind of on vacation, but I hit him up to hang, because he's like one of the 3 people I know over there, and at the time. And he was working on that record, and he actually invited me to go record, and then that led to some other things.
Cool.
And I ended up going back again later in the summer and playing at a festival called Electric Picnic. That's really cool. And I played. It's a long story. Basically, I played the worst show I've ever played in my life at this festival, and it was really bad. And like, because I learned about my partying limits, basically.
Okay.
Because like I was living a bit of the rock star life, and I'd partied myself into oblivion, and then I had to do a solo set at this festival the next day, and I just like really sucked. It was really bad, and it was in the middle of the day in this tiny stage, and like there was like a I can't, like Amsterdam Vodka was like sponsoring like an EDM stage like right across the way. It was just like, and I'm just like limping through these sad boy songs. It was terrible.
Oh,
but I had this big pile of those CDs, those burned CDs, and I had them, and I left them behind in that backstage area because I like got out of there, when I was done, because I was like, oh my God, that was so bad, and I just kind of like ran away. And then like 7 hours later, I was like, oh my God, I left all the CD, and I ran back and I never found them. So there's a pile of them out there somewhere. They probably just got thrown in the trash or something. But
I bet it's part of the Irish culture now to give a Fritz Hutchison CD as a white elephant gift.
Yeah. Or it's
Can't get rid of these things.
It's like 7 days. Like it's like the videotape from The Ring or something. So yeah, I don't know. That's what happened to that early version. But then eventually I kind of touched up the album and added another song or two. And
when you said a minute ago, tried to shop around to labels, was that your first foray into that?
Yeah, because all the She's a Keeper releases were self-released.
Okay. And how did you know where to start? Did you ask folks? Did you Google stuff?
Well, No, I didn't really Google. I kind of stuck to local labels because I wanted it to not be like a super. I didn't want to like put too much pressure on myself. I just wanted to follow through with putting an album out.
Okay.
But I needed help and accountability to do so. But I wasn't like Warner Brothers Records.
No,
like,
right.
like, obviously that's not going to happen or whatever. But I don't know. I just kind of I set the bar a little low just in order to accomplish something initially to build off of.
Okay.
That. So I knew about like the Record Machine and like High Dive, because friends of mine were putting out records on these labels. Like the ACBs and Shy Boys were working with High Dive, and the Record Machine had helped out with like the Mid Coast Takeover South by Southwest thing, and they were like tied in with like the Midwest Music Foundation. Just like just kind of being aware of them through the music scene, and then I ended up putting that first record out with Center Cut Records. As my friend Calvin Arsenia had put out Cantaloupe and worked with them, and I had been like kind of playing in Calvin's band at the time.
Oh,
and
interesting.
so I was sort of aware of that connection. So I thought, well, I'll ask them what they think of this stuff, and they were pretty enthusiastic in their response, and they helped me put it out.
I think Patrick Spray is probably who told me to. He gave me a list of.
Oh, cool.
He was episode 77, and I mean, I thought he was gonna give me like 2 names.
He gave you a whole Rolodex.
I was like, shit, I couldn't write fast enough.
Yeah,
and I'm not even halfway through reaching out to this.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's that kind of guy that he'll just be like, oh, you got to this, and that. You know, it's like he's an intense guy. He was very helpful with putting that first record out.
So fun experience reaching out to labels for the first time. No. Educational?
Yeah, definitely educational.
Okay.
It's just a lot of emails and kind of tedious, and talking business. And,
the passion about it being your record doesn't just stay on 11 for
no one else feels the same way about your record than you do. And also, it's not about whether they like it or not.
Is it marketable?
I guess, I wasn't like playing hardball with anybody. No, he was playing hardball with me at that time.
That's good,
at that level. First record, local labels, like everyone's very chill about it, around here. Like, people know what's up. Like, people are just kind of helping each other out. So it was like various reasons why it would work or not with certain people. And Center Cut ended up being the one that it just, things just moved forward with them.
Cool. Right on.
But I mean, shopping a record is nerve-wracking and tedious, so it's not.
I can imagine.
Fun.
No, well, I know, but it's like the utopian thought is, I've made it. I'm shopping my record with label.
I've made it in reference to the record. I have made the record. Yeah. I've made it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, again, I really appreciate you being here.
Sure.
Fantastic list. If we roll through it chronologically, 1958, Miles Davis.
Oh, you got the cover art.
Milestones.
Wow, yeah.
27 of 63 studio releases for Mr. Davis.
Number 27.
Number 27.
No way,
6
really?
tracks, 47 minutes. I mean, I think roughly.
Yeah.
And I don't know that necessarily accounts for all of his quintet stuff. But anyway, those were the numbers I dug up.
27. I had no idea. People were busy back then.
I mean,
they just kept making stuff,
just
like
churning them out.
3 records a year.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Right.
Crazy.
So your introduction to Miles Davis happens how?
With this album.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember there being this CD was in my house. I think my dad just had it, and I mean, when I got serious about music, I just started like rating the CD rack and found all the records in the basement and stuff. I just started listening to whatever was already in the house. So like, I was just going through like that category of music to me, and there's a bunch of stuff that I could have put on this list. It's like Asia, the Steely Dan record was like one, or like
I definitely
Gordon Lightfoot. It's
nice. Track one of movie night demos that didn't make it onto. There was like artist names coming at me, like, and Steely Dan was one of them.
Really?
And a little bit of Bowie. It was like I'm only just now identifying what they were, because it was coming fast, like Patrick's List.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this album just like rips. Like that first Dr. Jekyll, like the way this album starts is like psychotic. Like that tune is so fast, and it just starts. It's like so up tempo. It's like a punk. It's like a thrash record or something. Like it's just like smashes you in the face with like blinding speed immediately.
Yeah.
And I was, when you're like 14, I'm like, yeah, you're just like whatever, like so into that, just like that insane kind of like Speed Freak energy that a lot of this record has that. And like Billy Boy is like kind of has this frantic energy, and that's like so interesting too, because it's just piano trio. Like Miles doesn't even play on that song. There's no horns on that song. It's just Red Garland on piano, and Philly Joe Jones is the drummer on this album, and his drumming on this record made like a huge impact on me. And I didn't even like. I was kind of perplexed by it, and like more intrigued than like satisfied by it, I would say. Like he has this like really interesting kind of off-kilter way when he solos or when he's filling and in these gaps, he kind of it's like he's coming at it sideways, and I just had never like is unusual way of playing that I hadn't really heard people do, and there's a reason why he's like a legend in bebop, but I just remember like hearing his drumming and not ever having the sense that I was going to or wanted to play drums like that, but it's just so perfect for what this album is, and I love the music as a whole so much that I like accepted it, and I tried to learn some licks, and I was really into it. His brush playing on this record, actually, that is the stuff where I'm like, that's the shit, and like I want to do that like that. Particularly on Billy Boy, and I'm not sure what else, but the brush playing on Billy Boy specifically was like, whoa, this is crazy.
14.
This is crazy. I think I was probably 14, maybe 13.
I understand that music is okay. Music is okay. Music is a thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's part of my family, and it's always going to be here. And so I understand the interest in rating what's in the house, the CDs, the records, etc.
Yeah.
What gives me curiosity is that a 14-year-old would not only grab a Miles Davis record, but return to it, like stay with it, for eventually an entire listen and revisit again. And I'm assuming that that's because there's more music in your marrow and your soul and your inner workings than maybe the average 14-year-old, considering all of the instruments you've taken up and everything that you've accomplished, done, learned, experienced. I mean, you're what, 32?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of remarkable. I'm not saying there aren't other 32-year-olds out there with, the
There are dozens of us.
Point is, it's very fascinating to me that you would be drawn to stay with this record for a full listen and revisit again, and now look at how
it's the drumming, like because at that point in my life I'm all in on being a drummer. That's like all I'm doing.
Okay.
With musically speaking, and I was drawn to jazz because the drums are free to speak in a way that is not, the idea of groove exists in a different realm on records like this than it does on other music that I was equally into, like say the Ramones or like I love the Dead Kennedys.
Sure.
Like I was listening to a lot of Dead Kennedys at the same time, but like different energy, different. But like I said, this record is really pretty aggressive and has a lot of drive and it's kind of a snarl to some of these. Dr. Jekyll and Two Bass Hit. Billy Boy is not really a snarl; it's pretty jaunty, but like there's just like a and Milestones, the tune is just gorgeous too. Like it's just a beautiful the like counterpoint thing that the horns split off and do. It's just like beautiful. And but anyway, the point being, like I'm like hopped up on ADD meds and I'm playing drums.
For real?
Like yeah.
Okay.
And like for hours a day, and so I want to do as many things on the drum set as I can. And so being a jazz fan as a drummer makes sense, because like I just want to touch every cymbal
Sure.
and play every voice and play any combination of rhythms or whatever. And I didn't have the facility on any other instrument to like to pursue that.
Right.
And so that is why I would get into a record like this at that time.
Did you, when you first listened to this, did you have a brush?
Maybe. I am sure that I did soon after. If I didn't before, I was really, because I was going to Explorers every week and taking lessons there at the time too. So no, they're gone.
Recently.
Yeah,
right?
this was the last year that they were open.
Yeah.
But I was there every week, so I was
run.
Oh, hell of a run. Yeah.
I mean,
amazing. Yeah. What is it? It was like almost 30 years.
I was going to say
something like that.
30-ish.
I'm lucky that I got to spend as much time there as I did, because they just had all the stuff there. And my teacher, Kent Burnham, was probably like the biggest singular person to influence my like playing of music.
Really?
Yeah, just because like I took private lessons with him for 5 years.
Okay.
And I never had another single instructor for that long or that frequently. It's like every week for 5 years, you hang out with this one guy and he teaches you something about music every week. So it's like, that's big, right? So
huge.
So I'm sure I took home some brushes pretty soon after listening to this record. But
I heard you say that, and the feeling I got was, I didn't know we could do that. I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, totally.
Like, and now I can't wait to not only dip my toes in that water, but work towards mastering it, for lack of a better. Just fascinating. But from 58 to 1972, Machine Head.
Hell yeah.
6 of 22 for them.
Right on. I love that you're giving me these. This actually helps a lot with like the visceral memory.
Success.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
7 tracks, 37 minutes. I was taking lessons at the Tune Shop in Prairie Village.
Nice. I know it well.
Working on the riff that you just shared with us. And my next door neighbor, I'm 7th, 8th grade, gets home from work, and I must have had my bedroom window open, and next thing you know, he's knocking. And he's like, dude, what are you doing in there? You playing some Deep Purple on guitar? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, did I tell you that I gigged for like 10 years around town in a rock band? I was like, no, you did not. Please come in. And he comes in, and within 3 minutes, he's hitting the Highway Star solo. And I was just like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
I lived next door to you for like who knows how long, and I didn't know you had this in you.
I mean, let's just be clear. Highway Star is the greatest piece of recorded music in the history of humankind. It's so good.
Well,
like, come on. It's ridiculous.
You know, I'm buying music at every turn by this point, and so I've Smoke on the Water is just in there from FM radio, and so I hit play on my cassette copy, and I was just like, he comes in just what?
Yeah,
and I was like, holy shit! Oh my god,
it rips,
dude.
Yeah, I bought this on cassette.
Yeah,
at the Eckerd at 63rd and Brookside Boulevard.
CVS.
Now the CVS, but I'm pretty sure this is the first album I ever bought with my own money.
Okay.
And all I knew about was Smoke on the Water.
Sure.
And I kind of had this mission to collect and study things that I was aware were iconic in in rock music.
Yeah.
And part of it is because I would just believe it. If someone told me that something is great, I'd be like, oh, this is great. I got to go check it out.
Now I'm going to tell people.
Yeah, exactly. We're just like, what's so great about this? But
Space trucking, baby.
That is what's great about this. I mean, every tune, there's not a stinker on this thing. It's so good. But I was aware of Smoke on the Water because everybody in the world is, and so I bought it. But then the first thing you hear is Highway Star, and it's just insanity. And and Ian Pace is the drummer on this album, and he really.
They got two Ians in the band.
I guess so.
Ian Gillian is the vocalist.
Yeah, he's the singer. Yeah,
and Richie Blackmore, and then I don't know the bass player's name, but nice bass riffs too.
Oh, the what is it? Pictures of Home as the bass solo.
Yes.
You can cut that out, but it's like every note on this record is ingrained, and I wore this cassette out. But what was I saying? I don't know. Ian Pace. Oh yeah, Ian Pace. So I used to spend a lot of time on drummerworld.com. It was pre-YouTube, website that had bios and sort of Flash player video links that were direct on that website. And but Ian Pace is a really great. These two records. I didn't really even think about this when I was picking them out, but Milestones and Machine Head next to each other is this is literally middle school, early high school. My musical diet and interest as a drummer is the worlds colliding between hard rock and bebop, and that's very apparent in a lot of the classic rock drumming of Deep Purple, Mitch Mitchell and the Jimi Hendrix Experience. These kind of flashy, even John Bonham, there's a deep swing element in a lot of what these guys are doing, and they're taking a lot of their vocabulary from these bebop jazz players and then imposing it onto these heavy blues riffs.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's fascinating and totally fit with my personality because I live to rock, but I kind of complex things, and I like to stay busy. Not so much anymore as a player, but in that era where you're just getting your shaking it all out and just wanting to play every note all the time, and the way that you get to play if you're playing along to a Deep Purple record is not totally dissimilar from playing along to a jazz record.
Okay.
You're just heavier on the backbeat and hitting a lot harder. But Pictures of Home is a deep shuffle. Lazy is a real up-tempo swing, basically. Space Truckin' is sort of a gigantic Motown beat.
Wow.
Highway Star is the greatest piece of recorded music on the history of the planet, so that's cool. Maybe I'm a Leo is just a stanky groove. I don't know. Never Before is really good. I've covered Never Before with my band.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it is really fun. And also like the story of this album being recorded is really fascinating. I don't know if you know much about it. They they recorded it in like an abandoned hotel.
Oh, that feels familiar.
In like, I can't remember where it was. They're in like the French countryside or something, and like somewhere weird. Not come at me, France, but they were just like living in this weird abandoned hotel, and like the way they had it set up, like the stories they tell about it are like, oh, we would do these takes, and then we would be, oh, let's go listen to the take, but then we would have to go crawl out on the balcony and climb over to another window into the control room. It's like telling these like, it made making music and making records feel like an adventure waiting to happen in life.
Yeah.
And it's like very exotic seeming, and then to have that result in something very iconic, and also like kind of demystifying of the like music, making records is this thing that happens exclusively in like purpose-built studios.
Right.
It's like, I would not categorize this as like a DIY record, but there is some of that ethos in it. And then like you realize that a lot more records than you think are built in these like, or are recorded in these kind of DIY settings, like Exile on Main Street is like Keith Richards' basement, and like stuff like that. And kind of realizing this stuff is not existing in sterile environments,
right?
And that people are making music all around the world in any way that they can. So it was kind of an intro to that like school of thought.
I do recall at some point reading a little bit about it and feeling like the story was similar to the way that like Led Zeppelin was doing physical graffiti, for example. Like,
I don't know about that.
Hanging mics from the undersides of staircases and recording certain bits in hallways, and just finding unique buildings, structures, just so that it's different, sonically. It's not a sterile, just, four walls and,
right.
Same old. Anyway.
Elevator shaft, snare drum.
I don't know what that was. Anyway, it's also fascinating to me that sometimes FM radio would give you Highway Star, and sometimes it would give you Space Truckin', but they just force feed Smoke on the Water, and it's like every other track on this record.
So good. There's like a bunch of hits waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I think that the album was supposed to be called Pictures of Home, and that was going to be the big single. And then late in the process, they came up with Smoke on the Water. And there's a track that Smoke on the Water replaced called When a Blind Man Cries.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of sucks. It's like way better.
Oh, man.
That they did what they did. Like even, like Smoke on the Water, for better or worse, is definitely better than When a Blind Man Cries.
Gotcha.
It's like, I don't know, man. He's still got tear ducts.
Right?
Like, it's like,
right?
he's
still got sadness in there.
He's going to cry.
Or joy, whatever he's crying for.
It's a ballad, and it's not very thrilling. No shade. All love to Deep Purple.
Right.
But I'm glad that they wrote Smoke on the Water. I'm sure that they are also glad to have their, third house that they got from that song.
Right.
But yeah, Deep Purple, man.
Man, I was stoked. I mean, there's not been a Deep Purple record on somebody's list yet, so I'm kind
glad.
of,
Yeah.
get just for
hitting home for you.
Well, just the conversation that we just had. I mean,
yeah,
like Highway Star literally blew my mind, and to live next to somebody that could, pretty much throw it down. I was like,
hell yeah,
what's going on, man?
Hell yeah.
Anyway, we skip ahead to
moving on
2006 for live at the Hammersmith Odeon 75.
Yeah,
Bruce Springsteen, E Street Band.
Either way, it would be next,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before we get into this, I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Yeah, do
quick.
it.
We're back.
The boss.
21
studio albums for this obviously legendary act, but this live recording earned a spot on your list.
It did.
Have you seen him live?
Yes.
Okay.
I have seen him 4 times.
Okay. All
at the Sprint Center.
No kidding.
I just don't not go when he comes to town. At this point, he's my number one guy.
Okay.
This is my guy.
And you're not from New Jersey.
I'm not from New Jersey.
Interesting.
I've been through New Jersey on a bus.
Okay.
That's
all it takes, I think, to get a little Bruce on you.
One corner, the uppermost corner of New Jersey.
There you
I've
go.
seen through the window of a bus.
So first time you see him is when?
The Magic Tour. So that would have been like 07.
Okay. And were you pretty into him already at that
yes,
time?
Because this. Okay, so I kind of cheated because this is also a DVD.
I saw a note at the tail end saying something about that,
and the DVD was included in the 35th anniversary edition of Born to Run.
Okay.
And so I got that edition of Born to Run because it was the one that they had at Costco. And like I said, I was I was just racking up the iconic albums and being what gives all these things the reputation that they have. Right. And my dad loves Bruce Springsteen, and so he was like, oh yeah, and so we got this, and it came with this DVD, and I listened to the album, I listened to Born to Run, and I was like, it's great, love it, really good rock album. But then I watched this, and I was like, oh holy shit, I know what to do with my life. It was just a
thank you, Costco.
Major, yeah. Shout out, thanks for the hot dogs and for the direction in life. It was literally like that. I watched this over and over and over again, and subsequently listened to this over and over and over again. I don't know if I had just listened to this, I feel like it would not have had the effect. I think that the visual, looking at him perform, and it's very intriguing because the lighting, the filming of it is interesting because it wasn't lit to be filmed. Really? It was just they just had some cameras there, and so the lighting is very dark, and he's silhouetted a lot of the time, and everyone is in deep shadow with bold single color lights on them. And so Roy Bittan, the pianist, is wearing this wide brimmed hat, and you never see his face because the light's always coming down, so you just you see the hat and his suit, and he's playing this amazing stuff. And for a lot of the show you can see Bruce's teeth, and but because they're catching the light, but his whole so it's very mysterious. And he's kind of in his peak whisper era, where he's everything is just beneath the city, 2 hearts beat, every song is like that. So I think if I had only listened to it, I would have been what is going on? But he's got such an intensity in the performance, and seeing it, I was whoa, I've never seen a performer like this. I've never seen a band that looks this cool, that is this forceful. And it kind of served also as a very effective introduction to his early era, because this concert is in 75. Yep. It's actually his first ever show in Europe, and which is cool and significant, and went a lot better than my first show in Europe, which was that I was talking about earlier.
I got some CDs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were there. Amazing. Can I have them back? But they're high value bootlegs at this point. Anyway, it's all stuff from the first 3 records, right? So it's kind of a good just intro to the first phase of the Boss, because he's at his flashiest lyrically. The band, it's super maximalist, the whole thing, really culminating in Born to Run, because after that he really strips it down for Darkness on the Edge of Town, which is the follow-up record. And it's very sparse by comparison. And anyway, the energy is just insane in this performance, and is so captivating, and he's just he's just like really working it. And the way that the show is structured around the strengths of the band, every member of the band kind of gets their spot in the sun, gets their time to shine, which is like, I try to do that as a band leader, is like make sure at some point in the show everyone gets their moment, and it's like builds this like mythos of the E Street Band, it's like this incredible band. And there's just like some like really epic tunes that I was like so ready for. I was like, what am I at this point? 16. So I'm angsty. I want to get out, right. So like the
stuck in the Midwest.
Exactly. All the escapist imagery that is like the most prevalent on Born to Run, and like the first, that one, and Wild Innocent, the second and third albums of his are like really heavy on the escapism. And that was just like really resonating with me as an angsty teenager, and like the sort of like all the throwback to like 50s R&B stuff. Detroit medley, which happens like really late in this show, and it is a medley of like a bunch of old R&B tunes, just like done with like a really, really high intensity, was just like, it's just like on a silver platter for me. It's just like everything that I like loved about rock and roll.
Cool.
And like seeing how much that like he loves rock and roll, like I feel like his music and his performance style is like to the point where one can say he's ripping off tropes of R&B classic performance styles and gospel and stuff. But like, I really do think that it comes from a place of like reverence and,
of course,
and love. And he's like taking that and putting his own spin on it. And I do that too,
Sure.
I think everyone does, whether or not they admit it. But
no,
like,
I think if you're not,
I think he wears it on his sleeve though, because, Detroit medley, Quarter to Three, he's just like kind of known for closing out his shows with these like throwback covers. And
I can't say I've ever seen the man in sleeves, but I'll take your word for it.
Zing. Too much heart to have any sleeves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean the lyrical work going on here is like I said, he's like peak maximalism, and like the way that he's always been a maximalist. That's why he plays 3.5-hour shows.
Right.
But like the way that you see like where and how he deploys that that instinct, or like being drawn to that, is like really fascinating to me in the context of his early career. Because like you look at like his first album, and he was actually like pressured to make half of that first album a solo acoustic record, like because like
is Nebraska first?
No, Nebraska's like kind of in the middle.
3 or 4,
but,
5. Sorry.
Nebraska is number 5.
Okay, sorry.
No, 6.
Okay,
it goes Greetings from Asbury Park.
Yes.
Wild Innocent, the E Street Shuffle, Born to Run, Darkness on the Edge of Town, The River, Nebraska, Born in the USA, Tunnel of Love.
There you go. You like Tunnel of Love?
I love Tunnel of Love. I almost put that one on here, but
that has
I felt like this
Brilliant Disguise on it, right? Yeah. Great record.
Really, really amazing album. Very rewarding to like the back half of that record is just like masterful, and it's just like there's it's got a couple songs on it that aren't my favorite kind of early on, but like you kind of like get through that early part of that record, and then it just ends up like the second half of that record is like flawless to me. Anyway, what I was saying is the lyrical maximalism, like you can feel like, okay, he's like, he doesn't have like a solid band, like the E Street Band like exists, but he's like trying to get his record deal or whatever. He's doing his like coffee shops and like cafe wah gigs, and he's like thinking about it very purposefully, and like, Tapestry has come out, and like Blue and James Taylor is really popping, and so like there's this singer-songwriter boom happening in the early 70s, and like that's what Atlantic Records is looking for, or Columbia, excuse me, but and so he you see him kind of go like, okay, well, I'm just going to be that in order to like land this deal. But like he's a maximalist guy, and if you listen to like pre all this stuff, like there's that compilation The Promise of like his really early stuff, like the Bruce Springsteen band, you know, in like the late 60s and very early 70s, and it's very E Streety. It's like it's big, there's 1 million members in the band, and there's everything is happening. But you see him condense that instinct like into his lyrics, like on Blinded by the Light's like a perfect example, because like, you know, the phrase like showing his pen, you're like a literary guy, right? He's showing his pen all over the place,
right?
And it's like you can hear that he's trying to like pack 8 band members into like these lyric phrases, because it's like there's alliteration and there's metaphor and there's like every device. He's just using it all everywhere in every lyric. Every lyric has some sort of like flair, like a phonetic flair to it.
Interesting.
But also is like, you know, it's very showy writing, but you can just get that sense that he's trying to be huge on the coffee shop gig, you know, but it worked and he got his deal, you know, and so
I'm happy I'm here, but this is only temporary. This is a stopping point.
Yeah. I think he just identified how to excel at something, or at least how to stand out, and I think he just like, he's got a bunch going on up there. So he just had to get it out, but he was putting it into the lyrics, and as a budding lyricist at the time, looking to someone with these like very fun to read lyrics is inspiring, because it's easier, I think, when you're like, right, you know, when you're early in your writing journey, at least for me, I can only speak for myself, but like for me, it was easier to latch on to like phonetic devices in order to like feel satisfied with a lyric, more so than like telling a complete narrative story or like a soul bearing truth. It's easier to like feel good about something that has like alliteration and an internal rhyme scheme, because then you're like, oh, I have like built something cool out of these words. What does it mean? You know, does it sound good, feel good?
I'm trying to get through
you know, and so his early work is like really just like drenched in that kind of stuff. And so it was very inspiring on a lyrical level. And then seeing him deliver it so passionately like brings that like deeper meaning to me.
Sure.
And watching him do that in the performance. And I don't know, I just was like blown away and fascinated and inspired like to this day by this set list. You know?
mean, it's
wild and indulgent, and
it's okay.
Absolutely, it's okay. You know, you got E Street Shuffle's 13 minutes long. Kitty's Back is 17 minutes long. Like they're really stretching out, and like, you know, at this point, I'm a jazz guy, right? So like, I don't mind a long instrumental stretch. No, at all. I prefer it. You know,
and, you know, in a band scenario like that, those jams are probably super fun for everybody. I mean, there's a piece that, you know, is sort of like the repetition and the mundane, but there's also, I would imagine, authentic joy each time you're out there doing it. Like, holy shit, man, we're doing it.
One would hope, you know, that's the idea, is like, because I realize in my band, like, you know, it's all my name and it's all my songs, me, and like I realize that that's not like, there's only so much that you can ask of other people,
right?
While retaining a genuine like joy in doing it. And having been a member of many bands, I can say that from the other side too, that like
sure.
you want to feel like you are bringing your own voice into a musical situation, and like you have value in the musical situation that you're being put in, because you do. you should.
Right.
You should be taken seriously for the voice that you have in a given situation. And so, when you get this 17-minute version of Kitty's Back with like 2 monstrous keyboard solos in it, and it's got to be gratifying at that point in the set to just be like, ladies and gentlemen, Danny Federici on the organ. And he gets to stretch out and just be Danny for a minute.
And also, like, I made all this happen. Castaway. I have created 5. I've created. So rolling into that first show for you as a Bruce fan, you're a pretty significant fan.
I would have been listening to him for probably 2 years.
Okay. So did you have realistic expectations? Meaning, like, not every show can be an A++, right?
Right.
And so
I think I went in with pretty high expectations, and they were just totally met.
Nice.
It ruled.
Nice.
Clarence Clemens was still alive.
Right.
Everyone was alive. Like Danny Federici and Clarence Clemens were still alive. And I think Patty Scalfa was there. It was the only time that I got to see him with Clarence.
Okay.
So it was very special.
Yeah.
And, his knees were bad. So they had this big golden throne on the stage that he was sitting in, and he would just kind of like,
nice.
Yeah. And then he would like get up, go to the front, slay his sax parts, and then go back to the throne. Everyone's like, yeah, I
remember Joe Posnanski's column about Clarence. Do you know Joe Posnanski?
Star guy?
Yeah. Huge Bruce fan.
Uh-huh.
And when Clarence passed, he wrote a big piece about him. And I was like, are there like a shitload of like hardcore Bruce Springsteen fans?
There are dozens of us.
That I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Yeah.
So did 2 years of listening give you a chance to get relatively deep into the discography before your first show?
So at that point, I'm trying to remember. I was obviously Born to Run and this live record. And in that span of time, Magic came out.
Okay.
And so there was a new Bruce record that was happening like in my life, and in everyone's life. And I think that record is good. I still think that record is probably his best of, well, I'd say that and like Devils and Dust are probably his best like 21st century albums.
Okay.
And part of that is my affinity for it because of the time that it came to me, and like that was the tour that I saw him on. But
I'm here, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And
did you guys study?
Yeah. I think that record is really good. Gypsy Biker is a great song. What's that one? Living in the Future. A great song. But anyway, so most of my listening would have been this live album, Born to Run, and Magic.
Okay.
And I think at this point I had gone back to the previous 2 records as well.
Interesting.
And I spent a long time really obsessing over those first 3 records.
Oh, wow.
And to me, that like was the Bruce era that really spoke to me. And I had checked in on other stuff, but it hadn't resonated yet with me. It's really those first 3 albums.
Okay.
That for a long time was like, that was it.
Now, shows 2, 3, and 4, equally amazing? Were they different? Were they similar?
Well, they were different. I think, gosh, I'm just trying to remember. The second time was Wrecking Ball Tour. And that one was like good. Maybe my lowest ranking of the 4. Certainly wasn't bad. It was really good, but there was, Clarence was gone. I think Danny was also gone. And so there was just like a different chemistry happening. And it was a bigger band. There were like a bunch of background singers and a bunch of horn players. And so the arrangements were different. It came off a little less organic than like just like the E Street Band, you know, kind of thing. But it was a blast. I mean, it was so good. And that was one that I went to with like a bunch of friends, and like as a social event, it was really spectacular, you know, and like we were all just like, we love the boss, you know, people that I worked with and stuff.
Cool.
And, yeah, and like a lot of like punk kids were at that one for
funny.
some reason, you know. It was just like, yes, you know, and we were on the floor on that one. It was just great. Third time was really great. I mean, that was the River anniversary tour.
Oh, okay.
So they did the River all the way through and then like played for another hour. It was insane. And that was really special. And that was like really good story time with Bruce moments at that show,
Like
you know,
between
where he's just like,
tunes.
The river is about time. Time walks beside us and we carry the ghosts of our regrets. You know, it's just like he just like in that mode, like really hardcore. And that album is such a party record with such introspective undercurrent to it, that it just really makes for an amazing live show to just play it all the way through. It just, the energy was through the roof and was so cool. And I've done, not necessarily like exactly inspired by that, but I've done a couple of shows where we just play an album all the way through, and I just always think that that's really gratifying and
For a performer and showgoer, I'm in on some.
I would
wavelength,
hope so, yeah. But just for me, yeah. In this case, for me as a showgoer, just like amazing. And that was great. And then recently he came back. I think February
Of last year?
of last year.
Okay.
Or wait, was it November? No, it was February. Well, I don't even know. I always get November and February mixed up.
It's weird stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. In the last year, he came.
Okay.
And it was cold. And I think it was February. It doesn't even matter.
No.
This is great content for your podcast, is me trying to remember. But it was just really good.
Nice.
And it was kind of like, I was like, he's getting up there, you know, he's getting old. And I was like, oh man, are we in for like a long night? Because like maybe like the first or second song, there was like a high note in the chorus and he like never got it, you know? And I was like, uh-oh, like Bruce is getting old. And then cut to like 3 hours later, I'm like screaming, you know? And I realized that like just he plays for so long that like that first 30 minutes of the show like is the warm up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, his muscle memory and like he tends to put like the newer material earlier in the front, and like, you know, by the end they're doing Born to Run, Badlands, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. So he's got like, you know, 40 years of muscle memory
Just
on these like
churning.
Yeah, and he can just do it,
Nice.
you know, and so he's just like really ripping by the end of it, and I was like, damn, like he's got it.
Still got it.
Still got it.
I'm sorry, I doubted you.
Yeah. Oh no, for
Back
sure.
in hour one.
Yeah. Yeah. It was killer. But yeah, I mean, and I really, you know, the other thing that I was listening to a lot at the time that I discovered this Hammersmith Odeon show was I was really into like live fish bootlegs. And I like had I had like a jam band phase in high school, so I was listening to a lot of Fish, and the live stuff. I was just really into listening to long-winded live recordings.
Okay.
Which this is definitely that. And it kind of scratches that jam band itch on these like longer, more out there cuts. So it was just really agreeing with all the stuff. And that all ties into the jazz taste and even Deep Purple. Like a lot of this stuff is jammy and, you know, has roots that go back to R&B and bebop, and it all ties together.
I had a jam band phase too, where I became a Fish head in like 1992, and I still am.
Nice.
My kids are named after Fish songs.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, this whole album, production has me thinking of the New Year's run they just did at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yeah.
Where I don't know how deep you got in your time, but they did Gamehenge in its entirety for the first time since like 1994, which is Trey's senior thesis. It's like a mythical tale.
Oh, that's where like the Iculus stuff comes from? Yeah. Okay.
But big production.
Uh-huh.
Like with, performers and dancers and costumes, and the whole stage is got this gigantic rhombus around it because there's a place where Trey and Tom used to go, and it's called the Rhombus, and they would get up on top of it and write songs. But anyway, I mean, it's just like I didn't live stream it and I haven't watched it, but I've seen clips and pictures, and it's just like, what an ordeal. I mean, they always do something for New Year's that's no small undertaking, but
well, I got into the Halloween shows because they would do they would do an album all the way through, so it's and appealed to me.
Around the time that you're seeing Bruce for the first time, somewhere in the 2007 to 2010 window, they jammed together.
Oh, really?
I think at Bonnaroo or something like that. He got. I mean, you can.
Oh no, I don't know if I want to see it.
Well, I'll tell you that
what do they play?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But if nothing else, looking at the set list, whatever maybe they did 3 songs together or something like that.
I'm totally gonna look into that.
Yeah, and I clearly remember learning about it, reading about it, looking stuff up about it, and feeling like both sides were really, really jazzed. Like Bruce was pumped, and so was Fish.
Hey,
so,
man.
I mean, success, right?
Whatever gets you through the night.
Nice. Okay, so then we leap up to 2019.
Yes.
Two Hands, Big Thief.
Yeah.
Brooklyn-based indie folk. 4th of 5, 10 tracks, 39 minutes. Who are these guys, and how'd you get turned on to them?
Yeah, so are you not familiar?
I wasn't. I gave this record a listen, but I didn't recognize any of the members' names. She's, I mean, there's always a level of intrigue for me when there's a female lead vocalist. And the Apple Music blurb actually used a fascinating word to describe the way that her voice comes across. But anyway, no, I had not heard of them.
Yeah, I was looking at my list, and I was like, a lot of dudes on this list. But I think that Adrian...
Don't look at the wall.
Yeah, I don't know.
A lot of dudes.
They're everywhere. Well, her name is Adrienne Lenker.
Yes.
And, I mean, I think she's just, like, top of the heap, like, living American songwriters right now, to be honest. I just think that she's spectacular and just, like, really tapped into her own spirit. And I'm actually taking a online songwriting course.
Quiver.
That she is teaching right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's through this thing called the School of Song. It's really good. But
the Quiver of singer-songwriter Adrienne Lenker, which I was like, yeah.
It definitely is a quiver.
And then some dust in the eyes and grit in the teeth. I was like, I'm liking all of what you're...
Yeah, that nails it pretty much.
Nevertheless, I apologize.
Oh, no.
Online course.
Oh, I blew out the mic. I'm so sorry. Yeah, she's just doing this online songwriting course, and it's there's been one session so far, and it's already inspiring and amazing. So I think she's really freaking cool and writes really great songs. And for this band, I think that this album is like... I'm trying to think of what to say. Like, the album that came after this, their most recent album, it's called Dragon New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You. and it's massive. It's like a double album, and it's if that is their White Album, this is like their Revolver.
Okay.
Movie. So because like to me, it just like they made these other records, these 3 records that are really good and have some just like really top tier songs on them, and sonically you can listen to it and be like, this is an indie band from Brooklyn. You know, like I kind of get what's going on here. It's excellent. It is the best that this can be, but it is like known to me. And then I got this album and I put it on and I was just like immediately like really taken with the intimacy of it and the it just kind of took things to another level in terms of their group identity.
Oh wow.
And in my opinion,
Sure.
as a listener, and kind of being like, this is who we are together. Because this album really has that sense to it where you can kind of like hear the floorboards creaking, you know, and like it's very intimate, and like, you know, even the cover of this record, you know, the folks at home, but
I love that photo.
it's very good photo, and they're all so tight in together, and it's like it's like a 4-headed like singular being, and it's very intimate, and I just think there's a lot of beauty in there. It kind of feels like a Crazy Horse album, or like one of those like really deep in despair Neil Young records,
Okay,
like Tonight's the Night or On the Beach or something, where you get that same, where you can hear the voices like kind of coming in, and you know, like waving in and out of the mic, and it's like not super edited, and you know, this album has a lot of like raw stuff on it, like, you know, this Mega Jam Knot has this real big gnarly guitar solo in it that's just like a lot of crunchy notes going on, and it's just like very raw emotional guitar playing, and that's Adrienne playing that solo.
Oh wow,
you know?
really?
And, yeah, and just I think she's a force, and I just think that this album, because if you listen to the thing straight through, and then you listen to this, and then you listen to Dragon New Warm, it really is like they discovered another, like a secret room or something, and then that room led to another world or something like that, and this is like the secret room record. And I don't know, also a big lyrical inspiration to me, and it kind of scratches that emo itch for me. Like there's some of the vocal delivery where she kind of bends a little out of note, and there's like a lot of a lot of dust in the eyes, you know. Particularly the second song, Forgotten Eyes, I just like remember, that's one of those songs where it's like I will always remember hearing it for the first time. Like there's a lot of songs that I love, but I'm not sure exactly I can't like see the room I was in when I listened to it for the first time or something like that, but that song is gonna like stick with me forever. It just like really made an impact immediately, and they're just like one of my favorite bands that's happening right now.
Well, I will say, for better or for worse, since I didn't know who they were going into the listen, I only realized this after the fact, expected to feel some sort of similarity to the record of yours that I listened to. And there was, but there wasn't. And the wasn't part was that I liked yours better. I mean, but it's only one listen. And the was sort of a comfort or familiarity, like there's a vibe that says this is a warm, safe place to sort of just be and do your things. So there was some similarity in that regard, and I was stoked to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of moments like Replaced, the second to last song, which to me, that song is an indicator of what is to come with the subsequent record having more of a country influence. There's kind of this like lo-fi, like borderline honky tonk thing that happens on several songs on the following record, but this song Replaced is kind of the beginning of that to me in their catalog. And it just has that great moment where she just goes, "Go ahead." And the guitar solo, it's very casual, and they're just cueing each other, and they're so in the vibe, and like
rustic.
That transcends any idea of perfection that could possibly exist, because it just wouldn't hit. And it's like that go ahead is like as much a part of the song as any other element to me. And it's like that, if it happens if it is heard, it is part of the music.
I like that.
It's like I don't know. What is it? John Cale, the like 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence piece. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's a famous avant-garde composition that I believe is John Cale.
Okay.
And it's just titled 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And it is 4.5 minutes of silence.
Wow.
But it is to be performed live. And so, someone comes out and sits at the piano and opens up the lid and sits there and then closes the lid and leaves. But the idea, depending on your interpretation, the idea is that there is always sonic happenings present in your life, in the world, and it all can be interpreted as like a part of something beautiful, like a work of art. And I don't know, this is not like a freaky out there record, but I think that just the casual nature of it and the acceptance of incidental noises and the intimacy of it, like, is accepting of that same idea that just like it's all music. If it happens between the first and the last note, it's part of the music.
I go back to Physical Graffiti again, which is where the track Houses of the Holy appears, and the in between songs there's a little somebody and Robert Plant goes cough, and then Jimmy Page goes and then and it's like I love that that's in there.
Hell yeah.
Shows the humanness of the whole process.
Yeah. I should have picked like an Outkast record or something with skits on it. Wu-Tang.
Right. Well, very great list. Thank you very much for sharing it.
Thanks for letting me put a DVD on there.
Absolutely.
I was like, I wonder if he's gonna kick me off for breaking the rules.
So it's you're gonna get the one that comes out this week, they threw an Apple Music Essentials playlist on there. I was like, we'll talk about that, but that's I'm not counting that as an album anyway. And live stuff and greatest hits, and just get whatever you get, what you get.
I mean, there it depends on your experience, but like, I don't know, to me the defining Eagles record is like the Eagles greatest hits. It's like I've never sat down and listened.
Not 2, right? Or was it 2?
I don't know, the one with the weird skull on it.
Yeah I can't remember which one that is, but
it's got to be volume 1 because Take It Easy and
Peaceful Easy Feeling and Hotel California,
or like to me, like John Prine's like one of my all-time heroes, but like Great Days to me is like the John Prine record, and it's just like a career spanning 2-disc set. But like, if you ask me what my favorite John Prine record is, I would just say it's Great Days. It's like, or the first one, because like basically the entire first record is on there too.
Nice.
It's like there's.
Well, I mean, if I were to appear, as a guest on this show, I would.
I was gonna ask.
It's I actually recently made a list, and it was like, oh, there's no way 5 became 10, became 20, and in the 20 there's like a couple snuck in, so there's probably like 25. But Rush Chronicles is a 2-disc, and it's like, I know that there's a lot more to Rush and Rush Records than that compilation. It's storytelling and exploration and nuance and all these things. But to me, that really scratches all of my Rush itches.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It's just
It's
so
the one.
good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I like to wrap with a series of goofy questions, and then we'll get you out of here.
Lay them on me.
So let's imagine that you have a top 10 bucket list, right?
Okay.
And 4 through 10 are they kind of interchange and fluctuate, and maybe some things fall off and new things come in. But 1 through 3 are pretty
rock solid.
Yeah. So you're given all of the necessary resources, excuse me, to hammer out your top 3. What's happening first?
Oh, this is just like a life bucket list?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like waiting for like a list of what, man? Oh, okay. So you got me thinking about my entire life. That's cool. Number 1. I don't know. Oh my God. Wait, okay. So there are 10 items.
Just because it's a round number, right?
Yes.
Your bucket list has 10
but
things
we're
on
focusing on the odd number of 3.
because they're the
upper,
top.
the upper echelon.
Yes. You're given all the resources to do all 3 of those things. What's number 1 essentially?
Tour extensively with my full band.
Cool. I love it.
Not at a loss.
Breaking even is
Breaking
okay.
even on a tour that is longer than 1 week.
Yeah.
With my full band. I've never been able
make sure that box of CDs gets in the van.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
guys.
Oh my God. Oh man. Yeah, I've never been able to tour with the full band. And that is just like really something that's got to happen for me. So
Cool.
I will just put that at number 1.
I love it.
A realistic thing. It's got to happen. Number 2. You know that, oh my God, I feel like a fool because I can't remember what it's actually called, but there's an ancient temple in Ireland that is a very wide dome, and it's like older than Stonehenge, and it's a monument to the winter solstice, and every year on the sunrise of the winter solstice, the sun shines directly into the center of this temple and illuminates all these ancient paintings and engravings.
Like some Raiders of the Lost Ark shit.
Yeah,
Cool.
very much like that. I would really like to see that.
Okay.
So we will just go ahead and put that at number 2.
Okay.
And number 3, all time life bucket list item is for me to gosh, I don't really know. I wasn't expecting.
That's okay.
No. We're gonna do this. We're
No,
gonna
we're-
do this. We're gonna maybe edit it a little bit. we're gonna get there. I would just like to. I'm just trying to think of like really like places to go.
Sure. Japan's up there for me.
Yeah, Japan would be amazing. See like Mount Fuji or something. Friends of mine just went there on tour actually. Just
Oh, wow.
toured through.
Nice.
And came back and said it was incredible. They said that Tokyo is like the quietest place they've ever been, which was like really a shock to me. I don't know. In my mind, it's like anime culture, like loud or like
Scooters.
flashing lights
Yeah,
and
yeah.
scooters or whatever. And they said no, like, and they're like 2 pretty reserved people, and they were like, no, like us like walking around just like chatting like this in the middle of the day, we were like the loudest thing happening in like downtown, like city center Tokyo. And I was like, no way, that's wild, and it seems really cool. I mean, if there's some sort of like archive of okay, no, I know what it is. Okay, I would like to go to New York City and look through the Arthur Russell archives.
Arthur Russell.
Arthur Russell is he didn't make the list, but he is one of my all-time favorite musical artists.
Okay.
He's a New York guy. He victim of the AIDS epidemic, passed in the early 90s.
Okay.
But he was active in mostly from like the 70s through the early 90s. And left behind like a really incredible body of work. Most of it has come out since his passing. Like he kind of didn't finish projects and like kind of just like made stuff and then put it on the shelf and then kept making stuff, just constantly creating. And he left behind this insane body of work that is like, it's like you think like I've seen it all. Like there's no way. And then like every 5 years they'll drop like another 20 recordings and they're like incredible. You know, it's just like, it's very inspiring. You should check them out.
I will, for sure.
And but there's an archive in the New York City Public Library
where you can sit down and
you can go through his tapes and just like papers and
cool
stuff like that. But you do need a New York Public Library card, so I'd have to figure that out. But anyway, number 3 on the bucket list.
Okay.
Spend a day or two with the Arthur Russell Archives, New York Public Library. That'd be amazing.
Lunch with anyone dead or alive. Who are you choosing and why?
Oh, I had like a really good answer to this question recently, and oh shit, it was really good. It was somebody. It was like. It was a. I don't know. Screw it. I think Harrison Ford would be a funny lunch date.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Like, I just feel like I would just like want to like, even if he was like grumpy that he had to have lunch with me, that would be perfect.
I think it would be.
You know,
yeah.
or we would just like get baked and go get a burger somewhere there.
I think he's baked round the clock.
I know. I just think he would be a good hang.
And I think you're also not supposed to talk to him about Star Wars. So
I wouldn't dare.
Right.
I'd be horrified to bring that up.
Yeah.
I would, you know what I would ask him about is Sergio Mendes, because when he was a carpenter before he was an actor, right? When he was young, he was living in LA, hadn't got his acting gigs yet, and he was a carpenter, and he built Sergio Mendes's home studio.
Really?
Isn't that wild? So there's these really hilarious photos of like him with like long hair, and he's like, you know, and like him and Sergio's like, you know, like they're buds, you know, because he built his studio for him.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd probably ask him about that.
Heck yeah. You're given the ability to visit your past self at any age. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
Oh man, I would probably go to myself when I was like 24 and be like, make a decision.
About
just
anything.
Nice. Just anything.
True or false? It is okay and acceptable to wear the T-shirt of the band whose show you're going to.
Oh, that's fine. Who cares?
So, did you rock any Bruce merch to any of those shows?
No, I don't really have any Bruce merch.
Okay, interesting.
Clothing wise.
Okay, gotcha.
Or really otherwise. I kind of just like have his records.
That's probably.
I don't even have a poster,
nice,
or anything. But yeah, just live your best life. Okay. Be a fan.
Okay.
Show your love. You know, like who if someone thinks that's not cool, that's their problem.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like if you want to show as much love as you can in that way, just do it.
Gotcha.
Let it out. Show it.
Okay. Complete this for me, please. The world would become an immediately better place in which to live if only
the genocide in Gaza stopped immediately.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
I love all those answers. Fritz Hutchison, music on Facebook. There is a Fritz Hutchison Bandcamp.
Sure is.
And then, did I pronounce it right the first time? Frite_orca?
Yeah, sure.
Fritte
Fritte_orca.
And is any one of those places better than the other if one wants to keep tabs on where you're gigging and what you're releasing and that kind of?
I'm the most active on Instagram.
Yeah. Okay.
And that if I make a hard post, it most of that transfers over onto the Facebook. But I am the most directly active on Instagram.
Cool.
If you want to message me or get a hold of me or something.
I appreciate you doing this, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me. It's been a pleasure.
I'm glad to hear that, and again, appreciate you trekking out on the old snow day.
Hey, man.
Here in January, KC.
I'm not scared.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah, thank you, man.